Hi everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Nattie's Nook. For the month of August, you chose a really interesting and monumental month to come and watch the review, and we'll get to the monumental part in a little bit. But first, if you're a newcomer, you can go back and check out all my previous reviews on the channel, or you can follow my Instagram page at natties.nook and get some more info on how to do that as well. All my old videos will tell you a little bit about me, and they'll also give you an idea of really what these reviews include, and you can kind of get an idea of structure. Especially if you're new and you really want to get a good idea, you can go back and watch that first video and they'll tell you all that you need to know for the rest. But don't forget, if you haven't watched them all, be aware that any of those reads on the channel could be your next favorite, so definitely don't leave a fellow book untouched. So without further ado, I'm going to get into this August review, so stay tuned for what's coming up. Alright everyone, now that the intro is out of the way, I can dive into the review of Warcross, written by Marie Lu. So Marie Lu is definitely one of my new favorite authors, even though I've only read 3 books by her, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when I like an author, I go and hunt down pretty much every other book that they've written, and I'm not sure if those are the only 3 books that Marie Lu has written that I have read. I'm pretty sure she has written others. However, those are my top 3, and you're going to hear a little bit more about Warcross, one of those 3 today, as well as the sequel to Warcross called Wildcard. So Warcross has a 4.14 star rating on Goodreads, and it definitely lives up to that rating. In fact, I would give it a little bit more love than that because I felt like maybe some of the reviewers were a little bit more picky and looked in some of the more skeptical. Maybe they were a little bit dry on their review. Maybe they weren't feeling as generous with their star rating, but I'm feeling a little generous today. So I definitely felt this book in my soul, and it had such an interesting plot line, and that's why I'm going to bring it to you guys. Marie Lu did a wonderful job of creating a science fiction fantasy sort of like dystopian. It's not really even a dystopian society, but it's just really different from our world, and also mixed in with just a little bit of romance, and she really wove that into a novel that I loved, and I know a lot of other people loved too. So kind of skipping past all of this superficial stuff that goes along with trying not to spoil a book, I'm just going to tell you what the plot's about because you're probably wondering by now. It's basically centered around protagonist Emika Chen, who lives in New York and is a bounty hunter. She's not super rich and wealthy, and if you know New York well enough, you know that it's pretty expensive up there. It costs a little bit more than usual to get a pretty good sized house, and in fact, it costs a lot more. So it's very expensive to have a very well-off life up there. So imagine somebody with not a lot of money trying to make a living for themselves. So she's sort of struggling to make a living, and she's taken up bounty hunting because it's almost like playing detective and you get prizes. So imagine picking up a lost dog on the street, and if the dog's been lost for like 2 years and everybody's hunted for it and the prize is like $2,000, imagine that being like a bounty hunter. Instead, you're hunting criminals though. And once you catch those criminals and turn them into the police, you get a reward, which is basically money. And that's what she needs. So she also plays this game called Warcross, which if any of you have ever read Ready Player One, then you're gonna kind of know what I'm talking about when I say like an otherworldly type game. The Oasis in Ready Player One was such a different, but also kind of like a second world almost, because so many people used it and it was so universal. So it kind of goes along with that theme, except not everybody's just building their dream life. Not everybody's just kind of like walking around upgrading their clothes. It's not as much like the Oasis, but it's got that sort of feel. And Warcross is going to be basically the whole center of this novel, hence the title. Warcross is a very hard game to depict and describe, so I'm not going to really dive into a lot of the game specifics, and especially because this is a sort of science fiction fantasy, it's a little bit hard to understand from just a normal person's point of view, but it's not that hard to understand to where I don't enjoy it. So kind of getting back to the main premise of the plot, Emika Chen hacks into the opening ceremony of the World Championships in Warcross. And I know it sounds like not a big deal, but this game is a universal game that pretty much everybody knows about. The World Championships are millions and millions of people watch this World Championships. And this opening ceremony is a huge deal, and she just hacked into it. So basically, the CEO of this whole game is just like, whoa, 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 who's that girl? So the CEO of Warcross, the creator of Warcross, his name is Hideo Tanaka, and you'll notice that I said it's a he. That means it's actually the love interest, and this is going to be a spark type fireworky feel between Emika Chen and Hideo Tanaka as the two sort of get to know each other and develop a little bit more across a more personal relationship and not as much a professional relationship. So Hideo Tanaka basically says, okay, Emika, I know you can hack into this game, and I'm going to tell you about a problem we've been having that I'm going to need your help with to fix. I'm not going to show you the problem because it's not going to spoil the end, but I want you to kind of figure it out for yourself. And if you want, you can go read the back cover, and there is, I think, a little bit of a key towards the problem. But I kind of want you to leave you on that note and just trust me on this one because it's got a super cool plot. I never expected the twists. I definitely didn't expect the ending, and it's definitely one to watch out for. So all hands down, this does deserve a 5-star. I'm surprised that people gave it a 4.1, but I'm going to just tell you in a few words why I did love this novel so much, because I know that I have been a little bit dry with some of my reviews. I've given some 4 stars, I've given some 3 stars, and I've given some 1 stars. So this one deserves a 5-star basically because Marie Lu made it good. She knows how to write, and I mean, like, she went to town with this book. You notice that with fantasy novels and science fiction novels, a lot of planning goes into the book to try and world build and try and describe the scene and making the reader feel like they're a part of it. And Marie Lu does a really good job of that and making me feel like I'm a part of the world so I can actually feel what she writes. And that's what really made me not want to put this book down at all. Warcross has so many wonderful characters, and they're all pretty likable actually. Even the antagonist, I found some really interesting features about them, and I was really, really intrigued by them. And the whole mood of this book, the whole tone that she was trying to set, just completely got me on edge, and it just kept the book going. So there's this common theme that obviously I'm not going to spoil for you because that is a spoiler. There's this common theme of suspense, like something that is creeping through the whole book, and it literally made the novel good. So I'm going to tell you, whether you love romance, whether you hate romance, whether you love science fiction or hate it, whether you're an Ender's Game fanatic or you hate Ender's Game like I did, or if you're just somewhere in between, you should go pick up Warcross because it's definitely going to be one that you don't want to miss. And by the way, it also has a sequel, which I'm going to tell you is also very good. Some people had mixed opinions on Wildcard. I'm not going to do a review on Wildcard because it is a sequel. And I'm just, it's a good second book to the first one. Obviously, you can't beat Warcross because Warcross is that first novel and it set the tone, but Wildcard was a pretty fiery sequel if you ask me. They did a nice job of just kind of continuing the plot line, continuing the tone, continuing the mood, and sort of just keeping the same structure in place so that it didn't veer along to either side really. So I definitely encourage you to go follow up on Warcross if you liked it and go see what happens in Wildcard, because I promise you that you will get something out of that one. And there are even more cool characters in Wildcard than there were in Warcross. So that's it for my review. I hope you found this helpful because Warcross is going to be one that you're not going to want to miss. It is probably at your local library, and you can definitely go find it at your local bookstore. Basically, my point is you can find it if you want to go grab it. And I'm telling you, you should go and grab this one. It's definitely one that you're not going to want to miss. And what you're also not going to want to miss is this next announcement that's coming up. So stay tuned for that. Congratulations, everyone! You survived to the very end of the video. And I've never said that before. But moving on, I told you I had a pretty big announcement, and I'm just going to kind of give it to you a little bit blow by blow, because it is a huge announcement and it might take a lot of you by surprise. After much deliberation and a little bit of foreshadowing into the next few months, I came to the conclusion with a heavy heart in a lot of ways that this will be my last review of Nattie's Nook for a good while, maybe ever, unfortunately. And I hate to say this, don't cry if you're crying watching this on your computer. I'm so sorry. But this has been my 45th review of Nattie's Nook, and let me tell you, every one of them I've enjoyed deeply. This definitely gave me a sort of just good and warm and fuzzy feeling during the heart of the pandemic and during the heart of a lot of different conflicts that I faced and obstacles I overcame. I always had my Nook to come back to, and it really centered me and sort of grounded me. And with these next few months coming up, I've just decided it's the best to leave this on a happy note and to leave you on a really good book to close out this one. So in order for some books to open, you have to close some. I want to say thank you to a few people that really helped me do this. And the first is going to be my parents, who helped me launch it, gave me the idea for it, and just helped me really stay focused when I do my reviews and remember it's for you guys and not always just because I love talking. And I'm going to also reach out and thank my mentor, the one who kind of burned inside of me that passion of reading, which is my first grade teacher, Mrs. Kathy Kime. I love you, like, to the moon and back. Thank you so much for really just being there for me and helping me ignite this passion of reading that I will take with me for the rest of my life. The third person I want to thank is going to be you. You're sitting at the computer right now and you're watching me talk, watching me, hope not with tears in your eyes because there's no crying allowed, but you're watching me right now close out a huge, wonderful chapter with maybe a few tears on my end, but you've just been so supportive, and I want to thank every one of you that has looked at all these reviews, that have gone and grabbed these books because of the words that I've said to you. I want to thank Charlie Kiefer, who's been a huge help to me, that's been just a really good friend to collaborate with. I've really appreciated your words of wisdom, and I am just really in awe and gratitude of you guys. You've really just helped me just to kind of find myself a little bit more. And I hope that these reviews have been helpful for you. Obviously, the previous ones aren't going anywhere, so if you feel like going and watching them again, know that they're always going to be there. And if you have anybody that loves reading, you can now refer them over to my channel, even though there won't be any new ones coming up. But just take this as a thank you for everything y'all have done for me, because really it just means the world. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping me create this journey. And until next time, happy reading.